Good morning and welcome to Life Coaching with Ink. This is Emotional Response Podcast. This is Ivory once again. I kind of flipped it. This is Emotional Response the podcast. Life Coaching with Ink. This is Ivory. Hello. I don't perform or practice this out mainly because I want you to get the authentic me, the real me, the me unscripted, to also gain a level of comfortability with me, to trust that the knowledge and the passion that I have for psychology and emotional wellness is intentional and sincere and factual. I don't want you walking around thinking this is scripted and I'm just moving along because it seems like a good thing to do. This is something I'm very, very passionate about, and I love connecting with people. I love seeing people flourish in their relationships, in their careers, in their job, because this is not just for relationships. This is also for your business, running your company. So today we are doing part 2 of conflict. I was going to go in more depth on conflict resolution and how to be more effective in your connections with people and your connections at your job and your connections when it comes to your private life. So we have to dive into the resolution part, mainly because conflict doesn't arise for you to just tuck and sweep under the rug. It's there for you to acknowledge and to dive in and to move forward. And like I told you, it's a beauty that comes out of diving in to conflict if it's done properly. You gain a deeper understanding and appreciation of someone else's unique thoughts and process, worldviews. And you become more human when it comes to relating to people. You're not as shallow. So conflict is a good thing. Before I go into the resolution aspect, I want to bring up 2 things before we address resolution. The conflict resolution I'm talking about is when it involves another party. However, there could be conflict within yourself that's going on. There could be conflict with the existence of a person instead of issues and ideas. And that's a totally different compartment. You sometimes go through life and you're going through different experiences and you think the wrestle is against someone else, but the wrestle is within yourself. That type of conflict has to be resolved through time alone. You have to dive in and spend time alone. I know, Ivory, I've heard this before, and why I got to hear it again? Because you're bringing turmoil to everybody around you when you know the problem is you. It's something you wrestling with inside. Maybe you're at a job that you shouldn't be at. But every time you come into work, you have a nasty attitude, a downtrodden countenance, and you're not effective in the company, and you affect your whole team. And so now your whole team is ineffective because you're not effective. So you have to resolve that conflict within yourself. If you're supposed to be in another company, in another field, pursuing another ambition, that's what you should be doing. And maybe that time alone will give you the steps that you need to take in that direction. But be able to identify that conflict, that turmoil within yourself instead of a turmoil with other people. You might be wrestling with where you're at and where you're going or understanding your emotions. And instead of you resolving it within yourself, you start attacking everybody around you. No, deal with those emotions inside of you. Whatever it is, work on you. Because at the end of the day, if you resolve that inner turmoil and you find peace with whatever is going on within you, 20 times out of 20, your surroundings will be affected and infected with a level of peace that allow them to move and flourish in life like you should be. So check yourself. Check yourself. And I had to throw that in as a sidebar because I don't want people to think it's always about somebody else. That conflict could be within you, and you got to work on you. Before we dive into conflict with other people, another conflict is identifying the difference between issues and ideas and the person. You constantly bumping heads with this particular person. You constantly, clashing. Okay, it's no longer about issues or ideas. It's that existence of that person. And if that person existence brings turmoil to your existence, then you have to separate yourself. If you always arguing every freaking day, every freaking moment, every freaking experience, then it's not even the issue or the idea that's on the table at that point. As much as you feel like you went through with that person, as much as you feel like things are familiar with that person might not be the best thing for you. You a vice president and your assistant manager under you. And the way they handle stuff, it's just constantly bringing turmoil. But they bring the numbers up, but they don't bring the team into a level of cohesiveness to make y'all flourish and be healthy. So be able to identify issues and matters versus the person. And you can tell the difference. Because no matter what the topic is, there's a distaste towards that person. And if that's the case, find out what is drawing you to that person, and then find out what's drawing you away from that person. And if it's their existence instead of, the issue at hand, then you need to separate yourself. Because it's going to always be an argument. Every day will always be tension. You always going back and forth. Some things are not normal, but you have made them normal. Stop making the abnormal normal. It's not effective in any shape or form. And some people normalize arguing every day. But in no shape or form is it normal. There's something else going on that you need to dig deeper. So know the difference between that. Now, we can talk about conflict resolution. Because I had to bring those two things up because they was on my heart and they was passionately on my heart, because I think sometimes when I talk to people and they're talking about things, they're not identifying and labeling them as they should. You might need a new career. You might need to relocate. You very well might need to let go of the past completely. And it's tough, Because regardless whether you're moving forward or burying the past, it's a level of setting boundaries to make yourself more structured, to make yourself more effective, to make that person more beneficial in life too. Don't be selfish to think that that boundary is going to just be for you. It could be better for them too. Because then they're able to identify and label things as such. And they Sorry for the interruption. I apologize. It's something I should be able to tweak before recording. So that's not a tangent I'm going on. That's two main points that you have to keep in mind. Because setting boundaries for people that you see in the past and setting boundaries for new people that you encounter is very key and can avoid unnecessary conflict. It's okay to put labels on things. It's okay for people to understand reality as it exactly is. Blurring the lines can reap benefits, and blurring the lines can have people thinking one thing just to be on the safe side, just in case. But be concrete. Be intentional. Be an intentional type of person. And you can actually avoid conflict that way. That's the crazy part. You can avoid unnecessary conflict that way. So, when covering conflict and conflict resolution, I want you to keep in mind it's an ongoing process, and you will grow stronger in this area the more you work on it. Well, I'm not good with conflict. You don't have to be good, but a start is better than nothing. Instead of walking around, I'm not good, fine tune that area. Pick up some books and learn about conflict. Listen to the podcast over and over again until it hits home. And the book is safe. Purchasing a book or downloading a book on a Kindle, both of those are safe things to do. Because it's only going to benefit you. The more educated you are, the more you know, the more effective you are in your relationships, whether it's work or personal. And when covering conflict resolution, you want to be able to either sit down with a person, have an unset time on the phone with a person where you could dialogue about it and you can actually spend time in it. Because if it's a conflict, it's something that has to be resolved. It shouldn't carry over into the days and the weeks and the months. Resolve it, deal with it, and move forward. Number one, be able to separate the person from the problem. Labels, back to labels. Labeling. This is the person, this is the problem. This is the person, this is the problem. And you might need to spend time alone to separate them. You might be well invested in the whole experience that you don't even know how to label it. So being able to separate the person from the problem is very significant in doing conflict resolution. Number two, listen carefully to different worldviews and point of views and perspectives, however you label it. Listen